Peace TV reporters have been active at the UN headquarters since 2010, the age of former UN Secretary General Ban Ki-moon. They are often invited to gather pictures and news about high-level meetings and events at the UN headquarters. We usually report live on the scene the events of dozens of countries, including the US, France, the UK, Israel, Germany, Russia, Egypt, Kuwait, Bulgaria, Ukraine, and Morocco, and the EU at the UN headquarters and their residences in New York. Our news reports have, in part, kept the international community up to date with the work of different governments so that people everywhere will know the great efforts and contributions of the UN to world peace, international affairs, and multilateralism.
I'm not looking at that. Well, I used to be years ago. I used to work.
This is an adaptation of the original version that was shown at the Illegal Slave Lodge in Cape Town in 2022. It examines slavery in South Africa and highlights stories of individuals enslaved at the slave lodge over 3 decades at the turn of the 17th century. I would like to thank the United Nations Population Fund, UNFPA, as well as the permanent missions of South Africa and the Netherlands who are with us here today for working with us to organize the event tonight and to highlight this very powerful exhibit. I now would like to invite His Excellency, the President of the General Assembly, His Excellency Dennis Francis.
Your Excellency Mathu Joyini, Permanent Representative of the Republic of South Africa, Your Excellency Yoka, Brandt, Permanent Representative of the Kingdom of the Netherlands, Under Secretary General for Global Communications, Melissa Fleming, Chef du Cabinet for the Secretary General, Courtenay Rattray, Excellencies, ladies and gentlemen, dear friends. We gather this evening to explore and appreciate more about a sensitive chapter in our history. One that is often overshadowed by the larger narrative of the transatlantic slave trade and the existence of chattel slavery. Yet the essence is the same, namely the apparent human instinct to subjugate other human beings. Let me therefore take this opportunity to thank the organizers for creating this revelatory exhibition shedding light on this important topic, and for their dedication to deepening our understanding of our past. While millions of enslaved Africans were forcibly taken to the Americas, another significant yet less known journey of enslavement was taking place at the very tip of Africa, at the Cape of Good Hope. For 2 full centuries, the Dutch East India Company forcibly captured and deported over 70,000 men, women, and children from Southeast Asia to Cape Town. These individuals suffered immense injustice and unimaginable hardships under the harsh overlordship of their captors and masters. Unlike in the Americas, where most slaves originated from West Africa, those brought to the Cape came from India, Indonesia, East Africa, Mauritius, and Madagascar. Upon arrival, they were stripped of their identities, often renamed after the month they arrived, transforms the site of human wrongs into one of human rights. Excellencies, ladies and gentlemen, as I close, let me share with you that just 2 days ago, I had the privilege of delivering a special address at the New Schools Institute of Race, Power, and Political Economy, where I delved deeper into the enduring legacies of the transatlantic slave trade and emphasized the critical need for reparatory justice. Understanding these histories through discussions like today's exhibition event is crucial, as they not only deepen our appreciation of our shared past, but also teach us valuable lessons about avoiding the commission of certain acts and behaviors in the future, and ensure that the faces and names of the Cape of Good Hope, at the Cape of Good Hope, are remembered, not as mere objects, but as vital contributors to our cultural diversity. Let us carry forward the knowledge and insights from these exhibitions, fostering a deeper understanding and appreciation of the complex and often painful tapestry. The significance of understanding the identities and the forbearance of these people. Who were they? What kind of work did they do? And how have they managed to survive in a hostile, foreign, and violent environment? cannot be overstated. Befittingly so, this exhibition aims to answer these questions and more. It seeks to oblige us to reflect on some of these untold stories, honoring the courage, resistance, and resilience of these enslaved people, and their profound but unacknowledged contributions to humanity. This powerful exhibit does not only recount past atrocities, it transforms the site of human wrongs into one of human rights. Excellencies, ladies and gentlemen, as I close, let me share with you that just 2 days ago, I had the privilege of delivering a special address at the New Schools Institute of Race, Power, and Political Economy, where I delved deeper into the enduring legacies of the transatlantic slave trade and emphasized the critical need for reparatory justice. Understanding these histories through discussions like today's exhibition event is crucial, as they not only deepen our appreciation of our shared past, but also teach us valuable lessons about avoiding the commission of certain acts and behaviors in the future. By bringing these harrowing histories into our collective consciousness, we give form and voice to the unseen and voiceless, and ensure that the faces and names of the Cape of Good Hope, at the Cape of Good Hope, are remembered, not as mere objects, but as vital contributors to our cultural diversity. Let us carry forward the knowledge and insights from these exhibitions, fostering a deeper understanding and appreciation of the complex and often painful tapestry of our complex human heritage. Let this process of learning and reflection be another crucial step towards acknowledgement and redress, never forgetting the hard lessons of the past and respecting the sacrifices of those who came before us. I thank you.
Thank you, Your Excellency. I'd like to invite to the lectern the United Nations Under Secretary General for Global Communications, Mr. Fleming.
Friends, Excellencies, we are here tonight to commemorate those who have endured a terrible fate. Enslaved under horrific conditions at the Cape of Good Hope, they were forced to live their unhappy lives under a brutal system of oppression and cruelty. And this exhibit tells so well the stories of some of those tens of thousands of women, children, and men. And it reveals also their courage and their resilience in the face of appalling atrocities, which included systematic rape, torture, and executions. We learn in this exhibit of those who refused to submit to the barbaric system and who organized resistance and revolts. We stand with those acts of resistance today as we reject all narratives of dehumanization and we reject racism, because those are the same narratives that drove the global slave trade. And for so many dark centuries of oppression across the Atlantic and within South Africa too, and that we were used to justify acts, that were used to justify acts of trafficking, of forced labor, and sexual violence against countless generations of Africans and Asians, and who were traumatized by white enslavers. The legacy of those heinous acts remains with us today. We see it still in prejudice, in discrimination, in poverty, and in violence that plagues our troubled world. This work is vital and it's also urgent, and it begins, as always, with remembering and with honoring and preserving this history, which is what makes this exhibit such a powerful contribution to that work. So as you walk around and study and observe the exhibit and learn about the shocking stories of those who suffered under slavery, I invite you all to take a moment to reflect on how far we still have to go to address this terrible legacy, but also on how you and we can make a bigger impact on that work. Thank you.
Thank you, Melissa. I'd like now to invite the Secretary General's Chef de Cabinet, Courtenay, to say.
They resonate far beyond the Cape of Good Hope, in countries in Asia, in our host country of the United States, and in my own country of Jamaica. This resonance is because these systems, the brutal systems of slavery that brought Asians and other Africans into South Africa, and that brought Africans across the Atlantic into the Americas, these systems share certain commonalities. They were rooted in the original lie of white supremacy, which animated and justified the horrors of the transatlantic slave trade, and later on, the Jim Crow laws adopted in this country, as well as the odious apartheid system that existed in South Africa. It is regrettable, though not entirely surprising, that these legacies of oppression and degradation continue to poison our communities and societies to this very day, through racism, poverty, violence, and inequality, and through a legacy of self-denigration, the vestiges of which are still evident in low self-esteem among some, although thankfully among the minority. Let me say that this stain on the collective history has particular meaning for all of us who will take the podium this evening. It is a pleasure and honor for me, therefore, to join with my sister, Ambassador Mathu Joyini, who I should say served as High Commissioner of her country in Jamaica for a period of 5 years. I therefore have no doubt that she knows the story of Queen Nanny of the Maroons, whose resolute resistance against slavery in Jamaica forced the British Empire to the peace table.
Cultural heritage plays a pivotal role in dealing with our past, acting as both a mirror but also a bridge. It reflects the richness of our history, showcasing the traditions, values, and experiences that have shaped societies over generations. In cases where historical injustices have occurred, cultural heritage can facilitate healing. By commemorating the experiences of all involved, acknowledging suffering and celebrating resilience and contributions. The Iziko Slave Lodge Museum is a poignant testament to South Africa's complex history, particularly marking the colonial origins and journey. This museum, one of the oldest buildings in Cape Town, originally served as housings for slaves of the Dutch East India Company. It has also served as a government offices building and a Supreme Court building, but today it functions as a powerful educational resource that encourages reconciliation through education. It is a metaphor of our journey from an era of persecution and oppression to democracy and Ubuntu. Dear friends, we are very pleased to co-host this exhibition with the UN partners and most importantly with the Kingdom of the Netherlands. The symbolism of this action reflects the spirit of reconciliation and building a global community together. Understanding our past is crucial for reconciliation and healing. It allows us to comprehend the context and complexities of painful events and fosters empathy and compassion. By delving into historical events and the motives behind actions, we can uncover the roots of misunderstandings and injustices. The Iziko Slave Lodge Museum and others like it play a crucial role in the process of reconciliation and healing. It provides a space for reflection and dialogue, allowing individuals and communities to engage with their history collectively. Through learning and acknowledgement, society can be better and reflect on past injustices and work towards a more equitable future. We are very pleased as co-hosts to have been able to share this history of South Africa, the history of all of us, I think, with you. And I'm very pleased to hear, Melissa, that it will be around for the next, until the end of May. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Your Excellency. I would like now to invite, even though she has not served in Jamaica, the permanent representative of the Kingdom of Netherlands to the United Nations, Yoka Brandt.
Thank you very much, Maher, and good evening, colleagues, PTA on his way out, the USGs, Melissa and Courtenay, and of course my dear colleague and friend Mathu. I would like to start by also joining all of you in thanking the Iziko Museum and all the other partners for making this exhibition possible, because I think it's important. I may not have served in Jamaica, but I did serve in South Africa. And I did so in the period 92-95, so when the country was going through its democratic transition. So I can safely say that I feel connected to the people, to the country, and to its history. So it's a special privilege for me that we do this together. But I think the exhibition is also important, as others have said, because it reminds us of these untold stories of enslaved people, the stories of courage, resistance, and power indeed, stories that tell us more about who the enslaved were, as the title of the exhibition also says. But also because it reminds us that slavery was not something that happened long ago, far away, by a few, but it was a system that permeated all parts of our society, and that its legacy is still very much with us. Looking at my own country, for more than 250 years, the Netherlands had colonies in various parts of the world, and almost 500,000 enslaved people ended up in the Dutch colonies. That was the case in the Americas, in Suriname, Aruba, Curaçao, Sint Maarten, and it was also the case at the Cape of Good Hope, as shown by this exhibition. The Dutch East India Company established a trade port in the then Dutch Cape colony, and for years transported and enslaved persons from the Indian subcontinent, from Southeast Asia, and from East Africa. We can only look back on our own involvement with slavery with horror, sorrow, and shame. But we also need to look ahead and come to terms with this painful history and to face uncomfortable truths. As many of you are aware, last December the Dutch Prime Minister Mark Rutte moved to offer a formal apology on behalf of the Dutch state for the Netherlands' historical role in the slave trade. He offered this apology to people that were enslaved in the past, everywhere in the world, and who suffered the consequences of Dutch actions, as well as to their daughters and sons, and to all their descendants, up to the present day. A formal apology from His Majesty the King, Willem-Alexander, followed on the 1st of July last year. But a formal apology can ever only be a first step in a process. Because we must not only confront our past, we must also recognize the impact that this history of slavery and colonialism has today. and how it manifests itself, as other speakers also have said, in prejudice, discrimination, racism, and inequality. That's why we feel, cultural actions and presentations like these are very important. It's important to commemorate. And so the Kingdom of the Netherlands this year commemorates 160 years since the abolition of slavery. A commemoration that is done together with Suriname and partners in the Caribbean. It is to make sure that this legacy that is painful and shared will remain in our minds and on our agendas. And I think an important step towards that is that it's been decided to open a National Museum of Slavery in Amsterdam in a couple of years' time. Because we want the history of slavery to be remembered, its legacy in today's society to be acknowledged, and the role of those who were enslaved to be told. Like the stories of John Lumat and Lena van der Kaap and Jan's meeting that you will see here behind us. And the stories of bravery of those who stood up, like Louise van Mauritius, and in the Dutch Caribbean, Tula from Curaçao, and Lokai from St. Martin, and as we just heard, Queen Nanny from Jamaica. I know these are just steps on a long road that we still need to travel, but I see this exhibition and the museum as another of these steps. And for me, the power of the exhibition here is in the stories of the individuals, those who suffered under slavery, those who rebelled against it, but through those stories, it also lays bare the system of slavery, the system in which women, men, and children were bought and sold as property, forced to work and held in captivity for the profit of other people, other economies, and other countries. A system that leaves its marks in our society up to this day. I know there is no undoing the past, but I think in the here and now we can work together to heal, to repair, and to get to a better and more equal and just world. I thank you.
Thank you, Your Excellency. That concludes the formal speeches for tonight. I would like to invite you to visit the exhibit. We have colleagues from the division who can talk to you more about it. I'd like to thank them for the excellent work they have done. Once again, we're very grateful for your presence. Thank you.